Morning, everybody. Michelle here. Um, it's been a long time since I've been here. As usual, I tend to get caught up in everything else going on that I forget that I actually have a YouTube channel. Anyhow, I thought I would come on today and share kind of what I've been doing, trying to use up my scraps. I've seen a lot of videos of people using, trying to declutter and destash and all that stuff. And so I'm going through all of my scraps. And I'll show you. I'm guessing everybody has one of these. Maybe not everybody, but, a bag full of cut-offs, scrap paper, strips, that for some reason we just can't seem to throw out. Anyhow, so what I've been doing is I've been making paper beads with them. And it's a little bit addictive. Sorry about that. I don't think we need another thing to be addicted to, honestly. There's so many things that you always want to be doing. But anyhow, I'm going to show you how I make these. So I've been taking my strips and I've been cutting them into kind of like this shape. So it comes to a point at the end. And then I had this tool, which is, I believe it's for, nails, like when you're doing a manicure, for cuticles and whatever. Anyway, it was just a wooden stick that I found in a nail set. So I started using these, and this is the way I've made most of these ones here. And I think I've definitely did this as a youngster. We all, like all me and my friends, we used to just wrap paper around our pencils or whatever, and you ended up with a bead. So what I've been doing is just wrapping it around the stick, like just kind of starting it off like that, and then just wrapping it around, trying to keep this shape in the middle of the paper. Like, this is what I mean, like when you're turning it like this, to try to keep that in the middle, so it's going to shape the bead. See, like you can kind of see already where it's all in the middle. And so when we get to the point will be right in the middle. Like if you look on, well, you can't even really see the point on these finished ones. Anyhow, so you just keep turning it and turning it. Now, you can see, and it does come apart if I let it go. So I just readjust it back to the middle. So what you can do is you can glue as you go. But I found an easier way, because I found that kind of annoying. I like just sort of roll the paper onto the stick and just keep rolling it till I got to the end. And then what I did is I take my Mod Podge. This is the one that I use. It's the matte Mod Podge. And then I just dip my little paintbrush into it. And then I just kind of put a bunch of it on like that. Put my brush down. And then I just keep rolling it so it's on my fingers, and it kind of gets all over the paper. And it sort of holds it sort of in place. The problem I'm having with this stick now, though, is that I've got Mod Podge on the stick, so the bead sometimes sticks. But if I just push it off with my fingernail, it just comes off. And then once I've gotten that, once I have the point glued on, and the bead can just sit like that, then I'll just take some more Mod Podge, and I just cover the whole bead with it. And that way I find that it doesn't unravel. The Mod Podge just sort of holds it all in place. And this is a matte finish, so it dries matte. I'll show you after what I do to seal them. And then I have this little homemade tool, which is half of a pool noodle. Like, I cut a piece off the pool noodle, then I cut that round circle in half. and I jammed a bunch of, well, mostly toothpicks, but there's some other little sticks that I had from something. And I just glued them into the, like I just put a dab of glue at the bottom of each toothpick, and it sort of holds it there. And I would suggest using the toothpicks that don't have the pointy end, because some of these sticks have a pointy end, and it's not that comfortable if your finger, but it's not, I mean, it's not painful or anything. So, and then I just take the paper bead, and I just kind of plunk it on on one of the little sticks, and there it sits to dry. And every now and again I just lift it up to make sure it's not sticking to the pool noodle, but it doesn't stick. The glue doesn't barely even sticks. Like I see this one's kind of come out already. But anyway, so that's my little homemade bead dryer. So that's just going to be off to the side. So I started doing this so much that I was finding my stick a little bit of a nuisance. So although it works, and it worked for most of the beads that I've made, I ended up buying a set of, sorry, I hit you. I'm sorry. These bead rollers. They're pretty fancy. I'll show you. Let's see here. We'll try this one. I like this size. And then your paper strips that you've cut. Now, I've seen a video where a gal she's got like a template, and she marked a bunch of lines and did all the cutting on her cutter. That's all fine and good, but that was too much work for me. So I'll show you what I was doing. So these bead rollers have a little slot in them. I don't know if you can see, but there's a little slot, and you can put the end of your paper right into that slot, and then you just turn. And with these grip on the roller, it makes life very, very easy. So you just roll your bead on, and I don't think well, I'll show you how I Mod Podge it. I'm very carefully, because I don't want this to happen where I get, Mod Podge all dried at the end of my stick. So I just roll it to the end. And the size of your bead is definitely going to be dependent on the width of your strips, on the thickness of your paper. This paper is a light cardstock. I think this was a Graphic 45. So it's, it's kind of a light, it is cardstock, but it's light. You can definitely use paper. You can use wrapping paper. You could use whatever paper you have. But like I said, it's the size of your bead is going to be dependent on the thickness of that paper. So here I'm just going to take, and I'm trying to make sure I don't get it on my stick, and just kind of do that, put a glob of it, and then I'm just going to roll it so it gets into my finger as well, and then just keep rolling it until that point sort of stays glued down. And then it just comes right off the stick. Look at that. And then I take this guy again, put it in the hole, whatever hole it fits. Oops, I just changed there. And then get that off my finger. And then this is where I'll take the Mod Podge and just do the whole bead. Just like that. And then put that onto my little drying system. Oh, this might have been too small. The toothpick. There. Okay. So that's on my drying thing. Oh, I'm so sorry I hit you again. Okay, so what I'll tell you is these bead rollers I got from C-Bar 5 Creations on Etsy. So if you're at all interested, that's where I got them from. So you can go there and check out their work. those sticks are pretty handy. I really like them. So anyway, those two beads that I just did, I did with a very, very, not very wide sheet of, this was probably about, it looks like it's a 1/2 inch at the end. And then it goes down to the point. So what I do if I want a wider bead is I'll take a wider piece of paper, and then I just take my ruler and I go from corner to corner. And no, it's not going to make a perfectly centered bead because we've got one straight edge and one angled edge, but that's okay because this is just paper beading. This is not a perfect, you know, nothing ends up perfect here. You can definitely distress the edges. I'm not going to, because to me, I just wanted to make this a quick craft, just something to play while I'm watching TV or, you know, something like that. So I'm going to take the, it's got a longer post on it. And this one here is, this looks to be about 1.25 inches. I'm not sure if that matters to you, but in case you're wondering. So then you just put it in the little slot and start turning. And like I said, it's not going to be the perfect bead because we had one straight edge and one angled edge. There's definitely ways to make both edges of your paper angled. Like you could definitely, when you go to cut, let's try this. Let's try a different piece of paper. So you could, I'm going to grab a pen. You can make a little mark right about the middle of that. And then when you go to cut, you go from the corner to where you made your mark. And then you cut there, and then you have to do 2 cuts. Do you see what I mean? Like you would cut this line to that mark, and then you go to this corner and cut from that corner to that line. And then your middle piece that was left would be perfectly symmetrical. But as you can see, it's not looking that far off anyway, even as you roll. I'm not necessarily a perfectionist, so it's not that big a deal to me. But I know that there are people out there who do like to be, you know, more precise. And that's fine. So, you know, there are ways to do that. So if it just comes unraveled like that, just grab the end, give it a pull, get everything back into the middle, and then finish your roll. And actually, I think I already like the looks of this one. Take my Mod Podge, just kind of glob it on, and then I'm just going to wrap my finger around it until the point stays down. See that the point is down. I don't want to get Mod Podge on my bead rollers, so I'm trying to be real careful. Let's wipe that off my finger. Then you pull that off and it just slides right off. Look at that. Actually, I like this bead. Maybe we can use the back of that. No, go back to the stick. And then, again, as I did before, just Mod Podge the bead so it kind of all glues down in place. And it's okay if it gets on your fingers. Just wipe it onto the bead. And then take it off and put it on your handy dandy little homemade bead dryer. Okay, so that's how I made those beads. There are definitely a ton more ideas and ways to make paper beads, but this is the way that I've been doing them. Now, I just want to give you a quick show on how I sealed them. So if you look at the ones that I've already made, some of them look pretty glossy, and then like this one here, it's kind of got a bit of a iridescent look. So I'll show you what I've used. I think you're fine with just Mod Podge. I don't think you need to seal them, but I don't know for a fact. So this is the one I used for this one. Where did it go? Here it is, this one here. So this bead here, it's got that iridescent sort of look. I used an iridescent medium to seal it. And all I did was the same thing as I did with the Mod Podge. I just took my dry bead, put it on my stick, took my little paintbrush, I'm going to find another little paintbrush, and just painted the medium right on, and then put it back onto my drying rack. Now, that iridescent medium it's nice, but I feel like it made it kind of white. It made it sort of look sort of pearly. So then I turned to a different sealer, which I think I preferred. Like if you look at the rest of these, I did use some glitter glue on some of them too, just to see if they would get some glitter on them. Anyway, so what I ended up using for the rest of them was this Liquitex gloss varnish. And I prefer this to this, but this has its own look altogether. And so this, I didn't make a necklace for myself. This was just I put them on a string just to show all the beads. With these ones here, what I did is once the varnish was all dry, this one and this one, I think there's another one on there too. Once that was all dry, I just took this acrylic paint and dabbed the tips into whatever paint was on the lid. Like, oh, I'm going to show you. Oh, of course it doesn't open. So, like you've got this lid, this beautiful color. I haven't even really used this paint yet, but I just love that color so much. So let's pretend this is sealed already. So all I did was I just dab it into the lid, and it, well, I kind of overdid that one, but that's okay. And it kind of did a, you know, a color on the paint. Now I need to turn this around. Hang on, how I'm going to do this here. Just jam that in there. And then pop that onto my dryer. So that's it. That is my little tutorial on paper beads with all of your scrap cutoffs. I hope that you try this. I hope that you make some of these, because they're fun, they're addictive, and you don't even need to buy the fancy bead rollers. I just did because I like easy. And those were a little easier. But you could use a toothpick, you could use a crochet hook, a knitting needle, you know, and whatever size too, because if you look at these, there's a really thick one and then some really tiny ones. So you know, you have lots of different bead options, bead size options. Anyhow, that's it, you guys. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you all soon. Bye.